Welcome back to Real Moms of Real Estate. So we're going to talk a little bit about investing, because like this group's got a lot of different ways that's kind of crept in. And frankly, as a profession, it makes so much sense to invest in what you do every day. It's like invest in what you know. You know what I mean? I don't know what could be better. So what all do you guys, how have you guys approached this so far? And has that changed at all with having kids, like kind of how you've gone about it?
I would say I got into real estate almost because of my interest in investing. I had some conversations with friends about some properties that they had bought, or maybe the first house that they bought, they had since turned into a rental, and then, bought a new house. And I just thought it was so fascinating as just a tool for, passive income, as a way to build wealth. And so part of the reason that I took interest in taking my first kind of real estate gig when I got licensed and joined a team was because that agent was focused on investment real estate, and I wanted to just get into it, learn as much as I could, and then start investing myself.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I've done more like single families. Like that's always been something I've been very comfortable with, because they have to take care of everything themselves. Yeah. And, which is, so that's been a good vehicle for me. So, and you see a good one, it's like, oh, maybe
a little more hands off.
Yeah, it is like a little more hands off. So like with my, you guys will love this story. I bought a building on Main Street, 720 Main, way back before downtown kind of got going. And I was pregnant with, well, it should have been. I was pregnant with, I can't remember which child. I think it might have been Amelia, my oldest. And the building was pretty rough. And like, one guy started to set a fire. We had a really rough property management company. But I knew I was like, God, this will be a great situation. And I ended up not being able to keep it because I didn't have any help. And I remember walking through, I was so pregnant, like I was the waddle, I was in full waddle form. And a pipe had burst overnight. So I remember walking through the first floor, which was like a retail space, like 2,500 square foot open span retail space, just sobbing because all the ceilings were water coming in I'm like walking through like 6 inches of water. And then we ended up selling it. I'm like, I can't do that right now. You know what I mean? It was like, I can't be coming down here, 9 months pregnant,
squeegeeing the water out,
and bargaining with tenants to pay me and ask them to please don't start another fire in the garbage can, because that really didn't go well. And it was just and I kind of then got back on single families and really haven't
looked back.
That was I remember that day. Vivian left so sad when I sold that building. But anyway, so we've done a lot of singles, couple duplexes, but.
So for someone like myself, who obviously I'm getting super familiar with real estate on the residential side, but I'm like wanting to dip my toes into maybe looking at my first investment, where would you guys point me to start? What direction do I go?
We did it a little differently. And when I say we, I did not get into real estate for investing. My husband, this was his dream, and this is his vision for retirement and like early retirement and that kind of thing. So he did it really smart. He bought a really cute single family to start. He lived there for a year, actually probably like 2 or 3 years, rented that, and then bought a duplex, lived in one side of the duplex for a year, rented out the other side, and just did that continually.
Over and
over. So that was really helpful, because if you can, live somewhere for a year and then go ahead and do it again, if you have that mobility, it was super helpful for him and for us to get started. But I think if I were to do it and to start over from ground zero, I'd find a cute little single family in somewhere that I was 100% familiar with.
Like where you live almost.
Yes, almost.
Hometown.
For me, that would make me feel more comfortable, because I know my area. We all know different areas and different pockets of town because we're real estate agents, but I know my neighbors. I know this street specifically. I know the best quick plumber right there. For me, that would alleviate a lot of the concerns.
Yeah. Somewhere if something happens, you can be there.
Mm-hmm. The hardest thing for me was, okay, I'm going to go in and we're going to update these units. And we're putting our hard-earned time, money, passion, effort into these units.
Blood, sweat.
Yeah. And your hours and your time, like you're over there at 8:00 at night painting and it's all good things that you're doing, but then you put a tenant in there and then they don't treat it with the same respect. So I think for me, that was kind of the hardest part of getting over renting, was that they're not going to be me. It's okay. They can be themselves, but I could always keep like a watchful eye on them.
I think this is such an interesting part of the conversation is there are so many different approaches to investing, different asset classes, different types of properties. And so I think a lot of people get like caught up in the education phase. Like, I listen to a lot of Bigger Pockets and, like podcast book overload, just trying to figure out like what I would want to do. And we actually ended up leading into like the house hacking
Duplex.
approach. So we bought a 3-family actually that was something that it was off market, and it was in our team's sort of circulation of off market offerings, and I showed like 3 or 4 clients through it, and they just kept passing because they couldn't see the potential. Really great neighborhood, Walnut Hills near Eden Park, kind of still a little bit dicey when we bought. So it was like great price, great location. We knew it was like on the up and up. But people kept passing. And I remember having a conversation with Trey, like, I think this could be a really good opportunity for us, but it's like a project, and I don't know if we have the skill to take something like that on. And we just decided to go for it. And the same week or month that we closed, I found out I was pregnant. And he started a new job. And it was
problem.
just like, it was really just like balls to the wall. Like we threw ourselves in. It was a full gut renovation, 3 units. We like changed the layout. We touched every single inch of the house. I was 8 months pregnant, like painting, like wallpapering. Like I have pictures of myself like on a ladder with like this huge belly. And I look back on it fondly, but I think like, all of this to say, the best advice I could give is just like pick something and take a stab at it. And especially with you working in this headspace and having that familiarity, if it doesn't work out, you sell it.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's still value add in
Right.
just buying something and turning it over.
Right.
Try it for a year. If a single family doesn't work, I don't think you're probably going to house hack with,
No,
your family.
just
won't
got
be
it.
house hacking. We do talk about it all the time, and it just was something that I was naive. I didn't know. I wasn't in real estate when we bought our first house, and then we just didn't ever get to it. But now I'm like, dang it! Looking back, so much I could have done differently, but. I guess let
You
that
have so
be
much time.
your sign to house hack.
When's the best time to plant a tree quote? You know what I
When's the
mean?
best
Like-
time to have a baby,
Yeah.
right?
Right, exactly.
But I mean, even, you say that you're not doing that now, but you are. You own a home now. So
Yeah.
you can always, okay, we own this home. That could be the start. We're very familiar with the home. We know its ins and outs, its plumbing, its age. So we're going to kind of expect or know some of those larger cash repairs down the future. And then when you're ready for your next property, keep that one. Go do it again.
Right, right.
So it doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to put all the money down and we got to do it right now. It could be in the next 5-6 years. That's
Right.
that's going to be your first rental property. You know what I mean? You kind of have to just look at it from different lens.
With that, like being said, how do you guys, well, if you guys have, like after you've like lived in a space and made all these memories, how do you then like turn the keys over and be like, all right, I hope you take as good care of it as we did?
Oh, that's never bothered me.
It would bother me, I think.
I think I would cry.
Like to a tenant for them
Yeah,
to rent
I would just
it?
be like, okay.
I have moved so many times in my adult life. I feel like I don't have that same attachment to a
Yeah.
space. Our first property, was our first project, and so there was a lot of like, blood, sweat, and tears, sort of like intense, like character building, relationship building kind of stuff. We also brought our first baby home there, which
That'll
is
do
really
it.
special. It was hard to leave Eden Park, So things like that. But honestly, the way you do it is like you see the cash flow.
dollar signs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is so nice to see like the fruits of your labor. You put in all of that work, and then you hold an open house, or when you list it, and you have a lot of interest, and people come through, and it's like that. Someone wants this thing.
I
that
did
I'm-
this.
Yes. Yeah, that makes you
such
feel
a
good.
great feeling. And I feel like because I work in this headspace, I am really good judge of character. It's the same way, like when you work with a co-op, you can sniff out someone that's going to be a pain in the ass to
pain,
work with,
yeah.
or whatever, just by like the questions they ask and whatever else. So I feel like I'm in a better like state of mind or background to manage properties because I pretty much work in that space anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So then what's your guys' opinions on rentals versus flips? And have you guys teetered with both, or are you guys kind of just in the rental phase right now?
Right.
No, you've done both.
Actually, we've never sold anything, and I don't
You've
have any
held
plans.
all of them?
Yeah, I don't have
Okay.
any plans to sell or to flip, I guess. I always look for properties that have a bunch of deferred maintenance in like an established or up and coming neighborhood, and then we want to just like make it better and then hold on to it. For us, it's like assets either for like a college plan or for a retirement plan. So I just want to build.
And then cash out on them much later.
Yeah, and honestly,
Okay.
the stress of like our own investment properties and the decisions, and then being landlords and kind of everything that comes with that, I don't really think that it's hard for it to be enjoyable to do flips. You know what I mean? Like when you're working in that headspace, like I just feel like that's like two different mindsets. I feel like you're either a flipper or, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The time length is, I would love to flip properties, and I think that would be so fun because I would love that creative aspect. I think that would be, but you have to do those flips quick.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
To make money.
Yeah,
Right.
to make money, and I just don't know if I am prepared to have that timeline.
Yeah. You don't
I'd rather
be
do what
rushed.
Kate does. We update it. I can still use that creative aspect, hold it, wait for.
Is there
a rainy day.
margins? I'm sure there are, and if you don't know them off the top of your head, but like what margins are you looking for as far as, okay, we're going to have to put this much into it, or this is the purchase price? Like, how do you come up with the numbers that make sense versus not make sense? Are you looking at how much it's going to be when you turn around and sell it in several years? 'Cause that's kind of hard to like calculate.
Yeah, I always look at whatever the price is, and then we will do like a walkthrough with a contractor, someone that we trust.
That's a good idea.
To kind of help us assess the situation, and then we work in whatever the expected repairs are, and then obviously like run back end comps for what the after repair value is going to be. Just make sure that you have some wiggle room. But with us being more like buy and hold,
Right.
I know that I can make up for that over time.
Okay.
So as long as I'm looking at like what the rents are. And I know that I can stock some reserves, for any repairs
Somewhere.
that come up and
Yeah.
stuff. Then I know I'm more of like an appreciation play.
Over time type of gal.
Yeah, but I know that there's like the 1% rule.
Yeah, a lot of landlords follow the 1% rule, meaning the
Fill
sales.
me in.
So if the house is worth $100,000. Every month you're trying to get $1,000
You should be able to get
Okay.
1%
From the tenant.
in rent.
from the sale.
purchase price.
Purchase price,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's like an easy.
Okay, I'm full of
quick
questions. So
calculation.
sorry about this. Also, along with that, like, are you guys? We can cut this out if it's too personal. Are you guys taking out loans to buy these properties? Are you built up to where you're now buying them in cash? And if you are there now, did you start there, or how did you get there? Like, did you take out a loan for your first and then eventually start buying cash, or still using loans? How are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like I said, Cody, he purchased his first home and then went and just kept doing that with the duplexes.
And he was financing.
And he was financing those. This is before we were married. Sold him the houses though. Just like toss. No. Is that how you met? You were making money. No, but
Go on some showing.
yeah. But then we received an opportunity a couple years ago from a private owner, and he wanted to sell a bulk of his properties, and we ended up doing owner's financing with that particular gentleman.
Okay.
But we are also we're partners with his brother and my sister-in-law, so it's all four of us own a bulk of houses together.
Okay.
So for us, that made sense financially because one, we couldn't afford the bulk of houses
Right.
just on our own, and two, I mean, that we all get along, which is huge. There's still corporations involved and all of that. I suggest getting an attorney to lay all that out, but you just never know. But
Right.
we're very fortunate that that's how it worked out for us. So
Okay.
if we do hopefully another bulk owner's financing,
They would also go in on that.
This is where like house hacking is such an amazing thing. Like especially, I love like the educational component of investment for clients. When I like meet someone that I wish someone would have done this for me, like even my tenants, like you're renting from me, you're spending X amount on rent each month. Do you know that there are options for 3.5% down loans where you don't have to bring 20% to the table to kind of get yourself started and get a foot in the door? So Trey and I were not married when we bought our first house. So he was in the military. He used VA benefits on our first. And then while we were living in that house and still like wrapping up that project, I used FHA benefits to buy another property. Same thing. It was something that we were showing to clients. They weren't interested, and I just wrote an offer, and it was a good price. And so those were our first two. And then by the time we were ready to buy this last one, you have enough equity built up in one of the houses because of the value that you've added. You then have rental income that you can show to a lender to show that the property's established and you've repositioned it. So then you can pull equity out of the property to put forward
you
to
borrow against your own property, and then you can essentially pay cash.
or at least fork up the 20% down payment, which would not have been possible when I got started.
Oh, okay. So it's not, house hacking isn't necessarily just buying a duplex and living for free. It's actually a lot more than that. It's using that money and making something else out of it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I would say, like, if you are doing that and you're going to occupy the home, your requirements for a down payment are much less significant than if you were to just go out and purchase an investment property itself. I think it's 25% down.
Yeah.
I just
right
saw
now.
15 with Park Bank.
Oh, nice. Okay, we'll give them a call. But 20, it's typically, or what I've seen recently, it's been 25% down. That's why we went with the owner financing deal, because we saved a lot of money there.
Yeah. Because if I went in right now, it wouldn't be my residential. Like I'd probably have to.
I will say something that I love about being a real estate agent. Like, this is a funny joke in our house. Like, my husband has a W-2. We know what to expect from that, and we know what we need to like cover our monthly expenses. And then we obviously have our business, with our our rent roll and how much is coming in from the investment property. But like, if we need to renovate a bathroom or something, like a lot of times he'll be like, it's not going to work out, and I'm like, I'll just sell another house. Just sell another house.
Yeah.
It's like we
Gotta go
have
sell a house, I
the
guess.
ability to determine, like you said something recently, like, how much do you make? As much as I want, and I will just scrap to make up the difference. Or if we're sitting on 10, but we need 20 for something, it's like, how quickly can I get this together?
Kay said, hold my beer. Like, watch me. I got this.
Yeah. It's actually like, I would say my like investment goals are more motivation for me within my real estate sales business than like the love of real estate sales. It's like there's one of the major reasons I stay in real estate is for access to deals and just the things I see coming across my desk that I might want to like,
Pluck up.
if my clients pass, but otherwise it's just staying current, staying in that headspace, and being able to like sprint if I need to.
Okay. I mean,
Sprint, girl.
Yeah.
gotta hit the ground running.
And I mean, there's a lot of different rental opportunities that you could do. You could do a long-term rental, which is a year plus. You could do midterms, which is like traveling nursing, that kind of thing. You could do midterm rentals, or you could even do Airbnbs.
I was going to
VRBOs.
ask about Airbnbs. How do any of you guys hold them right now? You guys both do? How is like the turnaround on those?
I love Airbnbs. If I could take every single one of our all of our rental properties and turn them into Airbnbs, we would, or I would.
So being transparent, that's like, I won't go too far into detail until it's more official and off market or off pod. But I think I have like a good Airbnb idea. I just need a way to like
Get it going.
Yeah, I need to start running. I need to start sprinting.
This is like something that I've been working with for direction for my business. Because I feel so passionate about like the investment side and kind of educating people, and because I love doing it so much in my own portfolio, my personal life, I've been trying to figure out how to shift my business towards helping people who want to get into investing, specifically in like the short to medium term space. I feel like we've like we've tested it pretty well. During COVID, at some point, we made a shift to like a hybrid model where half of our apartments are long-term rentals and the other half are short to medium-term furnished. So we always have at least one in a building that like makes most of the mortgage, so we know that we're covered, and then everything else is kind of,
Extra.
and so we've played with that a little bit, short term, medium term, and I think around the onset of COVID, we shifted to like almost exclusively medium term travel nurses, medical professionals. We've had some professor type people who are doing like just a couple months in town, but it's usually about 13 weeks. And what I love about it is it's so low impact.
Yeah.
Like they're so busy, they're basically coming home to like eat and sleep, and they take really great care of the property. They're great tenants, and so it's just a really great like sweet spot that we've found. And my husband's like a little bit more risk averse, I would say. So like that's why we keep those long terms. It's like kind of the safety blanket. But I would go almost all furnished medium term if I could.
Nice.
I want to do a little bit more midterms. I think that would be interesting, just for just for ease of turnover, really.
For those short to midterms, are they single families, or are you having condos or units that are like downtown?
Both.
Yeah.
So we rent a studio apartment
Okay.
that's 425 square feet.
Whew.
I mean, it's like a room, but
box.
it's like granite, stainless, a really
Beautiful.
nice small
Yeah.
space. And like people gravitate towards that almost more than the bigger ones because they really do just want a place to like
Come back to
Sleep at night.
Yeah.
so I want some more of that, but I also manage for a few select clients, and this is where I'm kind of trying to like bring it all together. Right now, I'm managing a 4-bedroom house in Madisonville, and the guy was moving away, but it wasn't ready to sell the house. Great neighborhood, he wants to let it appreciate. So we listed it, and I wasn't sure how it was going to go because I'm used to like the 1-bedroom, 1-tenant kind of thing. And right now we have 4 GE interns in there. It's 4
Excellent.
girls who, are kind of just
Awesome.
like cohabitating. And it's been amazing.
Yeah.
So I think you can do it anyway. It's just
Yeah.
all about like marketing to the right people.
Finding your niche and marketing to them.
Right.
We have our Airbnb is a duplex, so you can either rent out either side, or you can rent out the whole.
Is it near
space.
downtown?
Ours is in Covington, Kentucky.
Yep.
It's got like the deck has a pretty view of the river.
Awesome.
Super nice. We acquired it with the seller financing deal, and we were just like, this makes sense. Like, let's try it. So last year we did it, and I'm laughing because you were like, I was pregnant and doing all this stuff, and I was like, I think like one day before, or like the day of I was like going into labor, we were like dropping stuff off to like decorate this Airbnb. But one sleeps 10 and the other side sleeps 12.
And they're like booked.
I think they're booked
busy.
because they're larger and there's just not a lot in Covington that can house that many people.
Right.
But I feel like a couple of 2 bedrooms would be a sweet spot.
Yeah.
But
So you're talking about like the furnishing stage, which I feel like is one of the biggest barriers to entry, or like a reason that people don't get into it. Like maybe they don't have the time or the knowledge or the background to like furnish a space, and then also people don't want to be landlords most of the time. There's a lot of stuff that I see, like people wanting to like park their money somewhere, but they don't want to be involved in the day to day, or they want a more passive role. So what I'm kind of playing with is something where I meet someone who wants to get into investing. I help them identify a property, bring it through the renovations to kind of reposition and bring it to market value, and then help them furnish it, and then all the way through to managing it for them. So it's like a
Wow.
full service kind of like investor situation. And there's maybe tiers of payment structure, or
Yeah.
maybe I make more if I'm doing more.
how to investing for dummies.
Yeah, but
I mean, I think for someone like myself, where you do feel like the risk is so high, the first few deals, it may be worth coughing up some of that money to have someone hold your hand and be like, I think this is a good one, or like, girl, I know it's cute, but this doesn't make sense,
Well, if anyone's listening and is interested, reach out. Let's try it.
I'm gonna be the guinea pig. We'll get on the
first client,
schedule. Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, and I also like there are so many ways that you can structure that, right? The same with any type of investment. You could have like an equity share. Like, so I know people that have bought properties with others with no money down because they're the boots on the ground. They're finding the deal. So if I bring you an opportunity and you're the financial partner, it's a win-win for both of us, right? Like I'm finding the deal, I'm doing the work, I'm doing the negotiating, and then maybe we split the equity. Like, there's so
when
many
you
ways.
do that, and this is like, I guess, a blanket question, not necessarily like the business model you're thinking, but like if someone is to get in with an investor, but like you are doing the footwork, at some point, does it ever feel like the investor is kind of like, what are we doing here? Like,
You can always set up an agreement prior that you
so
would.
everyone knows like
I just think
what
that's
they're expecting.
always best, just because emotions happen
Right.
and
Same
things
thing.
occur
I think you
and
have an
feelings.
attorney
Yeah.
just draft an operating agreement. Everyone's just on the same page.
Good to know.
And if that's going to change, there should always be like an out.
Yeah. Buy-sell agreement, sorts.
Yeah. I don't have any partners so far, but I know there are people like within our space who have been able to scale so quickly, like from like 4 doors when I met them to 60 plus now. But they have a lot of partners.
Yeah.
And different partners on different deals. And I'm like, God, that's got to be so.
Taxes.
Confusing.
Yeah, taxes.
Taxes.
Different operating
Our
agreements.
poor accountant.
Yeah, different property managers, different operating agreements. And like that to me, I don't know if that's worth it to be able to say I own X number of doors. I think I'd rather just kind of get there slowly than to take on a bunch of partnerships.
Yeah.
But, to each their own.
I think there's as many ways to do it as there are people that choose to invest. So how are you guys structured?
Yeah, so ours is a little bit different. So my husband, he is an investor himself, so he has his own company that's completely separate from, So we only own one single family rental together, but then he has a separate company. So like you were saying, like it's his full-time job, like that's, he's grown it with his business partner and his best friend from college, and they've been doing that for like 8 years now. So ours is a little bit different. So I'm not like in the day-to-day, like managing properties, but definitely a partner in like support and commitment to like, okay, this is our long-term investment plan. And, this is our retirement plan and kids, college and everything. So for us, it was more of like, okay, I'm going to sell real estate. So we have, cover
Cash flow.
these cash flow. And then everything else is being put into the business. There's, still is kind of that way. So different way of support, I guess, as he's like grown his portfolio.
Do you
So-
represent the buy and sell?
No.
No, okay.
No. Nope. I've sold a couple of like single family homes that they owned where it just didn't make sense for the types of properties that they were starting to acquire to hold the single family homes anymore. So I think I sold like one duplex, but I know those. So we're very separate in that way. Like we understand each other's businesses, but we're not like in it together on a day to day. So a little bit different.
Everybody stays in their lane.
Yeah.
It's a nice division
Yeah.
of church and state. Yeah. That's a little
Yeah.
nice.
I mean, in our first, it's funny because the one single family rental that we do own together, I was like newly licensed, and the locksmith that I refer was like, hey, my uncle passed away, or, and had this home, and it was like straight from 1963.
Love it.
And it needed everything in Anderson, and we're like, this seems like a good opportunity. We had no idea what we were doing. Kind of like we were saying, like just
Do it.
jump in. Yep, we did get financing for that, and then ended up having to put a lot of money into it, but we still have it. And I think we've had maybe 3 tenants
Wow.
in like
Wow.
8 or 9 years.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So it's been, and we're going to hold that, until our kids are in college or, when it makes sense to sell it. But that's the one that we have together. So,
What was he doing before? So you didn't know, like, how did he
yes. So,
into full-time?
yeah. So his business partner now, his best friend from college, started investing in real estate in Cincinnati. And we were in Louisville at the time. And they knew they always wanted to start a business together. Josh was in medical sales, my husband. His business partner was in recruiting, like sales, and both doing really well in that. And he had started buying like a handful of single family properties, maybe 3 or 4, and was telling Josh, like, this is the business we're going to get into, and here's why. So over time, he slowly convinced him that, like, this was the business they were going to grow together. So we moved back here. They both kept their W-2 jobs for a while, and we're just learning, I mean, they were studying, learning, networking. And then eventually when it made sense, they both left their jobs at the same time. So
Took the plunge.
yeah.
That's a celebratory dinner.
Yeah. It was kind of like, you're not going to do it. They
You're
were
not
kind of
gonna
like,
do it.
you're never going to quit. And then finally they both were like, okay, we're doing it together. We're going to go all in.
Wow. How long ago was that?
I would say 7 years, maybe.
Awesome.
So
What do they like to buy? What is their preferred?
Yep. So
product line?
Yeah. So larger multifamily now. They tried one flip. I think they made $8,000.
Better than losing it.
They had
Losing it.
exactly, but it had a lot of upside that didn't
Material.
pan out. Yeah, and they didn't have the right contractors in place, and it was just, and they decided that's not the business for us. So
Better
they're
to learn that after one flip than 4.
Yeah, exactly. So they sold that one, and then they're doing larger multifamily. They go in, they renovate them. They're not the nicest product in the city, but they're one step below. So it's kind of this sweet spot of
perfect.
very comfortable. They have granite, new cabinets, well maintained, but not your
Sexy.
not your
OTR.
brand new
It's like the Residence Inn of hotels.
exactly. So that's our dynamic. It's a little different, but
Cool.
Very cool.
yeah.
It's definitely intimidating because when Cody said I want to do this, I want to retire by, used to be, what was it? I think it was 35. Now that he's going to be 33, I'm like, maybe we push for 40. But that's a me problem, not a him problem. But it was definitely intimidating. I was overwhelmed. I'm are we about to, this is a big loan. This is a lot of, he's like, we can do it. And so thankfully I had him as a sounding board to balance off. And now he hopefully never listens to this podcast, but he was right. I know, I hate it. Yeah. I would never admit it publicly to him, but he
will
was
deny
right.
it till the
Yeah.
day I
And so
die.
now I'm excited about getting more is not as intimidating as it once felt.
Yeah.
It's still a little scary because you're just unknown. You're buying a property and what are some of the things that could occur, but you hopefully have some reserves or, a plan in place to kind of make those repairs.
It's very similar to what we were talking about with kids, where something's always someone's always sick, something is always breaking, or there's some little fire to put out. But
Literally.
I feel
Yeah.
the pros have always outweighed the cons for us, even in situations where we weren't quite as experienced, and maybe we didn't hire the contractors in the right order, like the time that I did drywall and then the electrician cut into it the next week. It's there's things that you learn as you go.
Yeah.
But the worst thing you can do is just that analysis paralysis, never getting started, because the way that you learn is by doing.
Yeah.
So as long as it pencils and it makes sense on paper, I feel like you can make it work. But there's always something.
Right.
You got to make sure you want to do it.
There's so many systems and processes and things that you can put into place that makes it so not foolproof, but just it's not as time consuming as one would think. The Airbnb is by far probably the most time consuming because you just have more turns and you want to make sure your communication level is above and beyond because it's just more hospitality.
Right.
But, if a tenant calls me and they're like, hey, a month or a half ago, a tenant called me and he's like, hey, super random, but I got out of the shower and there's a raccoon in my living room. I'm like, okay, and that raccoon's not supposed to be there, right? And he's
Right,
like,
right.
we are lucky and thankful. I know. I was like,
Not a
I'm
pet?
so sorry, Charlie. I was like, all right, I'm going to call the
Raccoon
animal guy. Yeah. Comes from deep
gosh.
Kentucky, but he'll get it out.
Be there.
You have those, and they're kind of funny because and then it's all easily resolved. And luckily, we have great tenants that they're pretty negotiable. I mean, they're pretty yeah, I would have never thought a raccoon was in my living room. I'm like, yeah, me either. So you know what I mean. That part, the conversation of people and managing people within your tenant apartments or whatever has been pretty even keel. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like.
I think so too.
Especially when you come to you deal with clients every day that are I have lint in my dryer vent, and it's like, okay, well, stick your hand in there and grab it out. But
That's also why you like screen.
Yeah.
Run the background
Tenants.
checks.
we are
all
very,
the time.
we're very particular about our tenants.
Yeah.
Meet them in person.
We hold open houses for our.
Do you guys
rentals.
have like specific paperwork that
Criteria?
you guys, yeah, like what are is it like income credit, or are you more so looking for like job security, all of the above, no felonies? What is
Yes. When typically we have like an available unit, we will post Facebook, which is like not my favorite because you just get a lot of spam. Zillow, Realtor. I've never really posted on the MLS because I just don't think it's necessary, at least right now. But then as soon as someone says like they reach out, I send them a Google Doc questionnaire that they fill out. It's something simple like their name, email, address, why they're moving, how many tenants, their income, rough credit score prior to them even coming to an open house to meet me. So that way I could screen them a little bit beforehand and be like, hey, sorry, your credit's only 550. I'm sorry, we're renting to 650 and above. So I'm not wasting their time. They're not wasting mine. And then if they do, once we select from the open house, we're like, oh, we really like Sarah. Hey, Sarah, we want to proceed with you, but we're going to ask that you fill out this application via realtor.com. That does like a background check and all that good stuff. Just to ensure, because we have no felonies.
Do you have troubles because you can't really screen like your Airbnb guests, can you? Or you can?
Reviews.
Yeah.
I don't take anyone that doesn't have reviews.
See, that kind of sucks because I am not even able to book an Airbnb because I've never booked one, so I have no review.
We take some with our.
I was going to say, I
No,
shouldn't say
the app,
never,
like,
but
won't
I'll
let you
say
anymore.
we're hesitant to rent to
Non-review.
guests without reviews. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you're in town? And then we just kind of dig deeper and then decide if we're comfortable. Like I had someone who was trying to come down from Columbus for the weekend. It's like hyper local, and I'm like, you want to have a party? You can kind of get a feel for what it's for.
You want to have a party.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't own any Airbnbs, but my business partner Erica has one down in OTR, and she said the same thing. If it's like a short notice, someone they're coming in like the next day, then she'll usually just say it's probably not a good idea.
A lot of times Airbnb will flag those. So like if, it's Tuesday and they're coming in, or if it's Thursday and they're coming in on Friday night and they want to check in, sometimes Airbnb will like say, bing, like hesitate, this was flagged because X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
We've been lucky. There's only been like maybe one tenant that left our place kind of dirty, and it was a bunch of boys that were on a golf trip, and like they were in their mid 40s, and they were without their kids and wives, and they just left it dirty. I mean, we can clean, so that's okay. But luckily we haven't had any parties because of the size of the home. We've been pretty straightforward about no parties. We've had people ask, but I feel like everyone's been pretty responsive to our honesty, which is good.
Yeah.
The other thing I just thought of from a strategy perspective, part of the reason we shifted more towards medium term is because there's a difference in less than 30 days and over 30 days for taxes, the way that you have to register the property. So you have to register as a short-term rental if you're doing short-term. But if it's 30-day plus, then you just have to have a normal rental registration filed with the city. And so, there's some advantage to both sides, I think. Like you get maybe more of a premium from the short term, but less taxes if you go longer term. So,
Yeah.
And definitely check with your city in regards to short-term availability.
Yes.
Midterm, do all of your licensing, because if not, you'll get a big slap on the hand.
Yeah, I think having those criteria in place so that you're, you don't have any fair housing issues, you have everything is done very equitably and everything is done very the same every time through the same process and all that, and follow all the rules. Otherwise, that's just a giant mess.
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
going to be paying back all of your earnings
Yeah.
and fines.
Right. Fines, taxes.
Comes down to treating everybody
Party
equally and
repairs.
honestly. So
Right.
That is like my worst nightmare with rentals in general, is that I'm just going to go to a walkthrough after a 13-week stay or after a 3-year stay, whatever it is, and just find like the disaster, holes in the wall, like they didn't take care of it, especially because we do most of our improvements up front. So it's like we're handing you the keys with everything pretty much new.
Done.
And
Do you ever
that would
go
feel
there while they
devastating.
live there or not usually?
Unless there's like a maintenance situation or something, not usually. And I just like have to trust that we did our proper screening, and we communicate, I think, enough through exchanging rent and little things that come up. Like we'll
Right.
drop off AC filters. You find like reasons to just pop by. And because we self-manage, I think if we got bigger and we bought more, we would probably turn over management. But because we self-manage, like my husband's mowing the lawn,
Right.
So you see each other
Okay.
enough.
It's all good. Awesome.
Just take the leap.
All right.
Do it. Do it.
Hopefully, in a few months, we'll revisit this and I'll be coming on saying that I have some exciting news.
That's
I love it.
exciting. Well, way to get started. Good stuff. All right, thanks, you guys.
Thanks.